As we drop into the County Kildare circuit for the Motor Enthusiasts Club meeting, there have been many changes at Mondelo, not least the new management team who've already made considerable safety improvements and who are now aggressively marketing the Mondelo complex. We start with the Dunlop Group N saloon cars, where there are some new bidders for outright victory, as the Sierra Cosworth clan expands to include Stephen Mealy and Kevin Rowland.
It's very nice to see new faces in the Dunlop Saloon. Stephen Mealy, you've moved up from the Peugeots.
That's right, Plum. I decided to go Cosworth this year. I had a bit enough of the Peugeots. I enjoyed it. We're having a bit of problems this morning with the boost, but with these new valves that are being fitted, but I think we'll get there this afternoon, hopefully anyway.
Now these are ferocious machines, aren't they, Kevin? You've done exactly the same thing.
Yeah, well, I think I'd be the opposite to Stephen there. I'm sure I should have stayed in the Peugeot instead of getting into this. The back of them just want to step out on you all the time. That's the way I find, in the wet anyway.
Gentlemen, the establishment of the Dunlop Saloons, but there's a couple of new faces out there this year.
There is indeed, yeah. We have a couple of new Sierra drivers. We have Stephen Mealy with his Sierra Sapphire, and we have Kevin Rowland. Both of these drivers have driven in the Peugeot Championship and have done very well over the last number of seasons. So we're looking forward to a really good season this year.
Of course, big changes have been announced for the 1995 in the saloons. We're getting more onto the 2-litre bandwagon, isn't that right?
Yeah, I believe that they're muting 2-litre cars for next year, 2-litre cars only. But we have a good few Sierras around. Maybe we'll have a bit of Sierra racing for a while to come.
So can the new recruits beat the old guard? Over the next 10 laps of the Dunlop Saloon car race, we'll find out.
Gordon Kellett rolls up to the line in his Sierra Cosworth, the most successful driver in this category over the last number of years. The Dublin garage owner has not only been successful on the track, but he's also done a lot to keep this class together. And there's the man who's now come to challenge him, a newcomer last year into the class in the Dunlop Statoil, similar car, and that's John Keeney, possibly the most experienced man here at Mondelo. On the outside, Stephen Mealy, moving up from Peugeots, as he said, in his 4-door Sapphire version. And a very fast car indeed that he's imported from England. On the second row of the grid, the first of the 2-litre cars, the multiple champion Michael Cullen. Brian Ward completes the second row from Ashbourne in his Cosworth. Then we have Kevin Rowland, and then the second of the 2-litre cars, that's Michael Leonard. 10 laps of the Dunlop Saloons lie ahead, and it's a very good start from John Keeney from the middle of the front row of the grid. We're looking back from Gordon Kellett's car, and that's Brian Ward almost coming into our back bumper, and Michael Cullen squeezing through in the inside. Then the whole gaggle of the Ryanair Peugeots follow. Now out into the country, and the Sierras are beginning to stretch their legs, and the 2-3-door cars have broken away. John Keeney leads as they come down into Bridgestone Corner for the first time. But look at Kellett under braking very late indeed. Then it's Ward, then it's Mealy. Going very well in his first outing, then the first of the 2-litre cars. Aboard with a very cool Kellett at the moment as we come back into the main arena. And Kellett, number 2 there, really putting the pressure on Keeney. So John Keeney comes up the hill now into Dunlop Corner for the first time. Late on the brakes, you can see the smoke puffing out from the turbo there. Ward is in third place, Mealy fourth. Then we have Cullen, and then we have Michael Leonard, and then a gap before the first of the Peugeots. It looked like, I think, Sean O'Donoghue there. Completing the first lap, no change. And Gordon Kellett having to look at the back end of this car for quite a long time. A nice battle developing there for third place, but amazingly the man tucked in behind them in the 2-litre car is Michael Cullen, and that's of course the future in production saloons. Meanwhile out front, Keeney looks cool, calm and collected, but once again Kellett closes under braking. And Kellett, the more experienced of the two in Cosworths, but Keeney of course the most experienced man in Mondelo because he won the first ever race here. On board now with Kellett, you really get the impression of how hard it is to fight one of these turbocharged monsters developing about 300 horsepower round the tight Mondelo track. Kellett diving one way and then the other, just trying to harry the leader there into a mistake. Meanwhile, the battle for the 2-litre cars is really hotted up. In the Nace Court Hotel, little Honda there, Michael Leonard having come up past Kevin Rowland to give Michael Cullen a lot of bother. Brian Ward has broken away a little bit now in third place with Mealy fourth, and then the 2-litre battle, and that just could not be closer. First time we've seen the Honda and indeed the Astra, the new shape Astra, racing here at Mondelo. Meanwhile up front, no change there except that they're pulling well clear. Brian Ward in third place now, just coming over the hill in the Duckham's car, and then in fourth place Stephen Mealy, who's doing extraordinarily well on his first outing in a Cosworth. Look at this, side by side, Cullen being harried all the way by Michael Leonard, and then we've Kevin Rowland just behind that, the other novice Sierra driver. Lap 8, and still no change. And really John Keeney, and we can see the wipers are on now, this could be interesting, these cars are in slick tyres. And it's beginning to rain, and that could make things very, very slippery indeed. So John Keeney really has got an awful lot of pressure to deal with now in his hands. Oh, and we can see how slippery it is there as Kellett catches a slide. Up we come, up the hill towards Dunlop again. Kellett dropped back a little bit of that manoeuvre, not just quite so close this time. And you've got to feed in the power. These are the two-wheel drive Cosworths. Four-wheel drive banned from this class of racing in Ireland. Down the main straight about 130 miles an hour. Meanwhile, the 2-litre battle rages on, with Kevin Rowland beginning to come in and have a very close look at that one, and nearly getting the nose taken off him there by Michael Leonard. Ward still in third place, and Mealy indeed has made up a lot of ground there. Mealy has closed in on him. Back in front, and we're looking for Kellett. There he is, as close as ever. A nice close study of the Dublin garage owner there as he fights with that car coming out over the hill, and you really never get a chance to rest here at Mondelo. Down into second gear, probably snatching third as they just come through here about now. Onto the apex, a very important right-hander, that one. Up they come, and this corner is blind on the approach. You can see the flame pouring out of the exhaust there of the Statoil car as it accelerates down the start and finish. And we've somebody in trouble there, 104, Sean O'Donoghue. And that's Carl O'Donoghue also, and Peter MacDonald also in that little melee. That was down at Bridgestone, and well and truly stuck in the sand there, number 104. Last lap, and who's going to win this one? Kellett still puts on the pressure. Long gap now before we get third place. Should be Brian Ward, indeed it is, but it's very close too with Stephen Mealy. Third and fourth. Out into the country for the last time. Down they come, and you can see all that dirt on the road made by the Peugeots there. Mealy, getting it very sideways as he came out that time. Meanwhile, we come up virtually towards the last bend. This is going to be Kellett's last chance. Back markers in the way. I don't think they're going to trouble them. And Kellett trying round the outside. That's a very brave manoeuvre. Oh, there's somebody off there on the outside. And indeed, Keeney giving him no room whatsoever. A little bit naughty perhaps there, John Keeney. But it looks like Keeney's going on to take the checkered flag. One of the Peugeots having to come to almost a dead halt as the very sideways Kellett. Could he be beaten for second? Brian Ward gets through in second. And Kellett was third, or possibly even fourth. But look at this. Meanwhile, back at Bridgestone, Rowland goes round and nearly collects Michael Leonard. So certainly exciting stuff as Michael Cullen comes through to take the 2-litre honours after a pretty fraught race indeed. And there we see that replay again. I think I was being a little bit unkind to John Keeney because he had to go wide there. He got caught. And so the result, first blood goes to John Keeney, who takes maximum points. Ward indeed was second, Mealy third, and Gordon Kellett back in fourth due to that mistake. And there's the points situation. You see the two class winners getting equal points, so it's shared by Keeney and Cullen.
So the first man ever to win a race at Mondelo Park takes his first ever Cosworth win.
The Leinster Motor Club's meeting has attracted a good entry for the third round of the Dunlop Saloon Car Championship, a series that has taken the lead from the German touring cars by handicapping itself with weight penalties. John, what's this, from a racing driver to a weightlifter?
Yes, I think it seems a bit like that, Plum. We have to carry these weights
not on our back, but on the floor of the car. We used to carry.
Better let you bring it down. It looks a bit heavy.
Thank you.
What's the idea? This is sort of handicapping idea, is it?
Yes, if you win a race, you have to carry 50 kilos. If you're second, you have to carry 30, and if you're third, you have to carry 20 kilos. It's to make the class more competitive and the people who are to bring the cars back in line so that it's more competitive and they're more evenly matched.
There must be a smart equation in here that you don't necessarily, it's not the best thing to win races.
No, at certain times of the year, particularly before the big ones, it would probably be a good idea to lose so that you'd be carrying less weight for the race.
Brian Ward is another Cosworth driver who believes in getting right in on top of his problems. Brian, you look as if you're trying to get in there. What's wrong?
Oh, we have her sorted. Couple of modifications, we have her sorted now. She's all right. Going out now, put these old boys under pressure. Mr. Cullen and Mr. Keeney.
It's been pretty fraught stuff this year at the Cosworths, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's going well now. Very good, very fast, exciting. So today is
you carrying any weight?
Just 10 kilos, that's all. Nothing to worry about.
"12 laps of the Dunlop Saloon Car Championship qualifier lie ahead, and a very exciting 12 laps they will be for our in-car cameraman John Keeney, as he has to start right at the back of the field in his Sierra Cosworth due to a flag infringement during practice. The first few laps should be extremely exciting. Gordon Kellett in the Castrol car is on pole position as he was fastest in practice, and alongside him Brian Ward, but that is interesting with the weight penalties, Arnie Black.
Yes, certainly is. Kellett has done extremely well to be quicker than Ward, and funnily enough in the 2 litre class we have Michael Cullen on pole in that, and interestingly enough he is also carrying the maximum weight penalty compared to Michael Leonard beside him in the Honda. So that all adds a bit of interest to it. John Keeney's going to have to work like mad to catch these guys.
So there's the grid, and Keeney right at the back in the Dunlop Statoil car. They come streaming off the line, heading down towards Coca-Cola Bend, and already the lighter Cosworth of Brian Ward has made the break.
Yes, Ward's made a superb start. John Keeney, mind you, is doing extremely well. He's already up behind the Peugeots and trying furiously to get past the other Cosworth, but he's going to have to work very hard. It's hard to get his clear slot in this class. It's very, very busy, but he's doing his best. John's a great driver, very experienced. Brian Ward has already pulled out 2 car lengths over Gordon Kellett, and as they turn around and go up the hill, you can see Michael Leonard trying to get up the inside of Michael Cullen.
But there's a camera car coming up now, putting on the power, going past Stephen Mealy, Kevin Rowland ahead of him, and Rowland is only carrying 10 kilos. So there's quite a difference in weight there, and that could make a big problem for the battling John Keeney as he fights with the wheel, coming round Yorkie Corner now, up the straight, up towards Dunlop for the first time.
And you can already see Ward has pulled away. John Keeney's tucking in behind the other Cosworth to see if he can get a run down the straight. This has got to be his best chance with all the extra horsepower he has. But it's very busy. He's going to try down the outside. Going to give him the best run. He's got a clear slot now. He's catching up on the Leonard-Cullen battle, and they obviously are not going to give him very much room as they're battling furiously for the lead in their own class.
Well, he just swallowed up Barry Barrable, who was fighting with Jonathan Files there in the Peugeots, and now Cullen gives him room there as he goes through the left-hander and thanks him for it. Michael Leonard is the next in the list, and he should get that before he goes down into Bridgestone. And that is just exactly what he's done. So he's gone from last to third in a lap and a half. That can't be bad.
Yes, tremendous effort by John Keeney, ever polite man, waving his thanks to those 2 guys for letting him pass. You can see the distance these 2 have pulled out. Huge lead in front of him. He's really going to have to get his head down now, but at least he's got a clear road to give it everything.
And 10 laps is a long way in motor racing, so 43 there in 3rd place. Meanwhile, the battle up front. And Gordon Kellett there in the roll plug car really putting on the pressure now in the Duckham's car just ahead of him as they come down the straight this time, but you can see the lighter car of Brian Ward's has that advantage in a straight line. The Sapphire version versus the Sierra version as they brake now heavily for Coca-Cola Corner.
Yes, it looks like Gordon is not going to gain anything on the exit from corners. He's going to have to try and do it all under braking or find a little gap and nip up the inside of Brian Ward. But it's an easy thing to say, but it's a hard thing to do at Mondelo. It's a very tight circuit.
And we have a problem. We have a problem there. That's Ernie Richardson, who has hit his little Peugeot very badly. In fact, red flags are out. The 2 litre cars are coming virtually to a halt as they come round Coca-Cola. The race has been stopped. It means a restart, and there, I'm afraid, is poor Ernie Richardson's rather battered-looking Peugeot being taken away. Second start, and this time Keeney has the advantage, just the nose. But look at that car of Brian Ward. It out-accelerates them both as it comes down into Coca-Cola for the second start.
Yes, this really does show the advantage of this type of racing. If a guy isn't maybe just quite so competitive as the other blokes, at least he gets a chance when his car is lighter to have a real go at running at the front. But poor old Kellett made a very bad start there. I think what he did was accelerate and then had to brake almost immediately. As he come down, Ward has already established a 3-car lead over John Keeney, and he and Kellett are going to have an absolute murder trying to get past each other to catch him.
So this time it's Keeney in pursuit of Ward and Kellett in behind there. Then the battle royal for the 2-litre class. And we have a problem. We have a major problem. Peter McDonald's on his roof and there's petrol spilling out of that car.
Yes, it'd be nice to see a marshal maybe give that petrol a little bit of a squirt from his extinguisher there. He's obviously concerned about the driver, who I think is perfectly okay. But it would be nice maybe if one marshal just had a little bit of a look at this petrol in case it should be the unfortunate incident of it catching fire and lighting up. I think the driver's perfectly okay, but it would have been a good idea maybe to give it a bit of a squirt. Now it's being done at last.
So Peter McDonald taking his time wisely to get out of the car there. We've seen in the past where somebody's been in an upside down situation, they've undone the seatbelt and nearly done themselves more damage by dropping out of the seatbelt. You can see how badly the road is blocked there from inside John Keeney's car. So we're into once again a red flag situation and once again a restart in this Dunlop Saloons. There's the roll, we caught the end of it. Probably the car not too badly damaged, Artie.
No, I think it's lost a bit of glass on one side and the roof might be a bit rumpled, but possibly you could shove it back in its wheels, put some more juice in it and have another go.
And having another go is exactly what we're doing. 6 laps to go now on the 3rd start of the Dunlop Saloons. And once again, that man from Ashbourne, Brian Ward, makes the jump. And full marks to him because he's a novice compared to these other two. He's kept us cool. He's gone really for the lead on each occasion and he's got it. And this time it's swap around again because it's Gordon Kellett who's chasing him.
Yes, Brian Ward has kept us cool and made 3 perfect starts, but look at the lead he's already established going to Bridgestone. He's virtually out of sight as the two of them crest the hill. Now John Keeney and Kellett are both very experienced drivers. And here we have Michael Cullen fending off Michael Leonard, but look at Mealy's little Peugeot pushing Leonard up the hill almost as he's trying to get past.
So battles all the way. The field is split up now into the 2 classes, but really this handicapping system is excellent because it's giving us very close racing indeed. John Keeney 3rd. We wait now for the 2 litres.
Yes, this battle is pretty furious. As you can see, the Vauxhall appears to have just about the legs of Michael Leonard. Considering it's carrying 40 kilos more, that's not bad going. But at least this gives the Peugeots a real good chance to fight for class lead, which they couldn't do if these other 2 cars were light.
And just picking out those Peugeots is Stephen Mealy right on the bumper of the Honda. Then we've Barry Barrable in the Ryanair car. And then right behind him, I think we had fouls. We'll check that in a minute. But look at Mealy. Mealy who's come back down into the Peugeots. He's been driving a Sierra Cosworth this year, but he really enjoys these little front-wheel drive cars. He's raced in them regularly over the last 2 seasons.
This is a fantastic 2-litre class battle now. As you can see under braking, they've closed up slightly on Cullen, and Michael Leonard is trying to get up the inside of him, being assisted by this train of Peugeots.
That's Jonathan Files we saw there, number 27, the son of a very famous Irish racing driver, Ken Files, who indeed was the son of another famous racing driver, Jack Files. So 3 generations of Files have raced here in Ireland.
And as they come up to Dunlop, you can see Michael Cullen have a little quick look in the mirror just to check where Michael Leonard, which side he's going to go. And look at the way the Honda closes up under braking. It really does seem to be super under brakes. And now the Peugeots are clambering all over each other.
Last lap, and are we going to get a change for 2nd place? John Keeney looking very threatening, but nearly more interest now in the 2-litre class, which bodes well for the future because we're going to be restricted to 2 litres in next year's championship. So the Opel Astra leads of Michael Cullen, then Michael Leonard in 2nd place in the Honda. Here's the battle for 3rd place between the Cosworths. No change at the moment. Brian Ward out ahead of all these, just disappearing over the horizon into the distance at the moment.
Yes, it looks like John Keeney and Kellett have given it everything, but they just can't do anything about closing up on Brian Ward. Although I would say whenever his car gets the weight penalty after this race meeting, he's going to have to work very hard for the next one.
So up they come to the last corner. Last chance for Keeney. Down the inside is the normal way of doing it. He's not quite close enough, I don't think, Kellett's going to get second, Keeney's going to get third, but Brian Ward's going to take a wonderful win for the Ashbourne driver. There he goes, takes the checkered flag, well deserved, kept the cool for 3 starts, and that's more than you would ask for anyone. And who's going to win the 2-litre class? It's going to be Michael Cullen in the National Batteries car, followed by Michael Leonard, then the Peugeots, Mealy, Barrable and Files. It's unbelievable.
You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
Oh yeah, the park is magic. It's really something special. It's a fabulous event. It's the most important one on the calendar.
And very important for you because you've already had a win this weekend.
Yeah, it's always marvellous to win in the Phoenix Park. I'm really delighted to have won yesterday.
When is that?
18, I think.
We had difficulties yesterday, which is unusual in my own car. We've a brake problem with the car, even in practice, and during the race I ended up without any brakes at all, quite frankly. I was just stopping on the gears. So we worked during the night, and so hopefully now we might be able to put on a bit of a better challenge now today. Hopefully win with a bit of luck.
Next door in the Kellett camp, things seemed peaceful. But Gordon is never one to shy away from a fight in the Group N saloons. And after all, when you're the director of Group N saloons, the sky's the limit.
And on the front row for this one is John Keeney, and beside him Gordon Kellett. The inside of the second row, John Burns, who will be the danger man for Gordon, and beside him Brian Ward, who is missing. Roland there, missing a gear, so our onboard camera of John McCluskey catches that as he heads down the outside. But Burns just sneaking in that inside on the cheek of Michael Cullen, getting along beside Gordon Kellett as well. That's Michael Leonard Jr. in the 1600cc. McCluskey rooting for gears there as he gets along. But you can see it's a Peugeot traffic jam in front of him, this narrow track, as they make their way down towards Bridgestone at the Furry Glen. He's heading for the right-hand side, braking on the Sierra, as you heard the boys complain about it. But John Keeney at the moment, a couple of car lengths from John Burns, taking it nice and easy while all these tyres get warmed up. But there's Michael Cullen, the 2-litre Astra, and Michael Leonard Jr. in the 1600 Honda, doing well in really its first competitive drive in this car.
And McCluskey, our onboard cameraman, really having to make his way right from the very back of the grid. Here's the man out in the lead, though, John Keeney, who won yesterday at Phoenix Park, his 18th victory in this amazing circuit. In second place, Burns. Third is Kellett. Fourth is Cullen. Fifth is Michael Leonard Jr. going up on the grass there. And then sixth, leading the little Peugeots. And going off was Bernie. That's
Martin Byrne from Westport, his first time at the Phoenix Park, another rally man. But here's McCluskey again, just getting by the timing bus there, heading for Dublin Crystal Corner. Quick look in the mirror, he goes out to the fast lane, into third, into second gear. Seems to have a problem with this gearbox, but again, the Peugeot's under braking, you see, can hold on to them, and again, someone just heading for the grass. And that's Kevin Rowland there in the XB Express car. He missed second gear on the line, he's got it all to do as well. We've two onboard cameras, just David O'Leary's Peugeot there, that just shot from on the roof. We're back with the 3 in the lead. It's still Keeney. No, it's Sean Burns actually. We've lost out on that. Happened on in between Dublin Crystal Corner and Bridgestone. Burns just nipped by John, so those places up front have changed. And Leonard now a little bouncy there, front shock's getting a little soft, under braking, really closing on Michael Cullen. And watching, let's see what speed our leader is doing. 27.105, 105 miles an hour, and don't forget that's only halfway down that short straight.
So down they come into Crystal Bend, Dublin Crystal Bend again, and we concentrate now on lap 4 on the 2-litre battle. And just to confuse things, number 61, our camera car, is right in the middle of it. So John McCluskey, a rally man who is new to racing, really doing marvellous things from the back row of the grid, and this takes a little bit of bravery.
Yes, but this is something young Michael Leonard Jr. just didn't want. A Sierra in between himself and Michael Cullen, because the braking area for the Sierra completely different, much earlier than the Honda VTEC would be, and it's a big car, and all McCluskey will do at the moment is have a look at the right or the left. And you know Michael Cullen never weaved from left to right in his life. He just happened to move that way on the camber of the road. So it's Michael Cullen at the moment making the first part of this sandwich for McCluskey. There's Michael Leonard Jr. in the Honda VTEC, and now it's Kevin Rowland, another of the Sierra Cosworths, making inroads on the back of young Leonard. But again, McCluskey on the straight should be able to get by. If he could catch Cullen this quick, he should be able to get by Michael. But Michael will make this little Astra as wide as he can, sit it in the middle of the road, and that'll keep the second place man in the 2 litre class. He's moving over this time, but I don't know, it just strays off that inside of the grass, you know, back into the centre.
So the JMC Van Trans car really having a tremendous battle with the 2 litre leader in the DC car there. And there is the Honda, much modified from contact on the previous day. And there's Kevin Rowland in the AX Express car. But Cullen, man who of course is going for his 3rd Dunlop Group N Saloon Car Championship, coming onto the straight again, completing now 6 laps of this 10-lap AX Express race. Meanwhile, back with the leaders.
You can see there again John Burns fighting hard with his brakes there, pulling him a little bit to the left. Gordon at the moment, who's had the most relaxed race, he's also got by John Keeney, so John demoted to 3rd place. So now it's John Burns from Gordon Kellett, from John Keeney. But I fear that maybe John has put a little bit too much pressure. He did complain about brakes in the interview. It's a long way to go. He's going to have to keep the fingers crossed it'll keep that all together. And they're on the last lap, and Kellett really coming in at a rate of knots there, just getting over that white line for the quickest exit line. Didn't get it that much, John, now, but there's 2 more corners and back markers in the way.
So, Kellett in the roll plug Castro car, who loves fast circuits, absolutely thrives at Kirkuson, and here at Finish Park. And Keeney, not Keeney, but Burns really under pressure there as he locks up on the last corner. And Kellett really gets the power down as he comes out of it. Surely he can't. He's left it too late for the checkered flag. But what a finish as the finisher moves back to let them through. Cullen, meanwhile, is going to have a much more sedate finish in the 2 litre class, and he comes up to take another victory, and that'll be very important for his points in the championship.
Yes, winner of the 2 litre class, Michael Cullen, and second in the 2 litre class, Michael Leonard Jr. There's your overall. John Burns from Kellett, from Keeney, from Michael Cullen, and a good drive from John McCluskey from the back with the onboard camera.
So John Burns returns to the saloon car fray with honours. John, congratulations, fantastic.
Thank you very much, Plum. Actually, had a good race. Tried very, very hard, and there was under a lot of pressure from the 2 boys actually. And it was really a question of whose brakes had last out in the end, and I just barely got another lap and I was gone. I'd say Gordon would have pulled it off.
Any idea he was so close at the finish there?
Yes, I was monitoring him all the time in the mirror, and he made one big Kazakami at the end, and I knew I was actually in trouble myself at the last corner. I couldn't stop at all. It was either go straight out up to Ashtown, and I just had to pull 2nd gear and hope for the best and throw it in. So it basically came off, but Gordon nearly took me in the process, but I just about hung on.
A brief glimpse of the Dunlop Saloon car race from the recent Kirkuson meeting. Following a spate of breakdowns and non-starters, Gordon Kellett, Michael Cullen, Carl O'Donoghue and Barry Barrable did their best to entertain the crowds. We're inside Barry Barrable's Peugeot as we head for the first corner. And on the inside we have Michael Cullen, the 1993 Dunlop champion, who's actually heading Gordon Kellett's much more powerful Sierra at the moment in the wet conditions. That's Carl O'Donoghue slipping through there, and Barry Barrable really doing everything in his power to hold on to these machines. Coming down into the chicane, and still this cheeky little Astra holds out in front of the Sierra Cosworth. And we have to think Kevin Rowland, the 5th car there in the background, all obviously in trouble. Back onto the main straight, and you can see how slippery it is in those conditions, and that's why Kellett is understandably being a little bit cautious, but now he puts the hammer down and streaks ahead. But once again, Cullen, late onto the braking, and the more nimble Astra dives down the inside of the hairpin. And these 2 have been the men who have dominated the Saloon Car Championship this year in their respective classes. But it's Michael Cullen who goes very wide there at Detters that time and allows Kellett through again. And we have the 2 Peugeots, the Ryanair car of Barry Barrable, which we're now on board, and Carl O'Donoghue got a little twitch on there, fighting it out. But we're actually watching a little bit of motor racing history here, because it's that man there who's just sneaked again at the chicane, that man Michael Cullen, who's now heading towards his 3rd Dunlop national title in 3 years in succession. The first man ever to do that. Down the long back straight, and understandably the Sierra pushes ahead again, and again Cullen outbreaks him going down into the hairpin. So Michael Cullen, who has been racing in both the Fiat Uno class and in the larger class, and indeed back amongst the Peugeots. Carl O'Donoghue, watch him, round he goes. A rather frightening place to give us a bit of a spin, but giving us some late entertainment in this rather thin entry. So Kellett comes over the line to win, but the more important one is that behind him Michael Cullen wins his class again, and this time with very little opposition, but this time it's enough to give him the Dunlop Championship.
It's a sad day for the Sierras at Mondelo Park as they prepare to do battle in the Dunlop Saloon Car Championship for the last time. From next season on, the Tin Tops will compete in a single 2-litre class. So Kevin Rowland, along with John Burns, John Keeney, Brian Ward and Gordon Kellett, out in their turbo monsters for a sensational swan song. As the big class honours are still to be divided.
I've got it all to do today, I'm afraid, and it didn't start off terribly well because it was very wet this morning and I chose the wrong tyres. I went on to a set of intermediates and I'm afraid they didn't do the job, but however it's it's going to be a good race and hopefully we'll be able to improve our position.
John, this is an important day for you.
Yes, it is today, Plum. We're leading the championship at the moment, but not by very much. And we have to do well today to actually win the championship. We have, I think, to be not more than one place behind Gordon Kellett.
Two-wheel drive with the bags of power in these Sierra Cosworths must be a real handful out there in the wet conditions.
Possible to drive this morning. Peugeots passed us if we were stopped. Couldn't catch them, but then the race is always different.
And really, I mean, the tail is probably what's shooting out. It's always wheel spinning.
Sideways all the time, no brakes, no steering. That's it.
And you do this for enjoyment?
Love it, yeah.
But the slippery conditions weren't the only thing out this morning. There were yellow flags out, and because of being naughty boys, 2 men from the front row, the centre John Burns, on the outside Carl O'Donoghue in the Peugeot, are put to the back of the grid. And this will leave Michael Cullen in the 2-litre Astra, because of the conditions, all on his own. You can see his wipers working there. In the next row we have Sean O'Donoghue, and beside him John Keeney. This is the quickest of the Peugeots here in the 104 car. Brian Ward is next up on the inside of the 3rd row, and beside him we have Stephen Mealy, a very quick driver indeed in the wet, but how will they fare out in the dry? Beside him was Barry Barrable in the Ryanair car. Then we have John Farrelly, a new name to Peugeots, and Ernie Richardson, and there Gordon Kellett, because of that choice, on the back. Arms being waved in the background to tell us everything is ready to go. The naughty boys on the back row. Who will it be? It has to be Cullen from this pole position on his own, and a superb start. Remember, conditions drying. John Keeney jumps in behind Michael Cullen, but can anybody get down the outside? Cullen holding that centre line. A superb start from the 3rd row by Brian Ward, just gets the jump on John Keeney and moves up into bumping and boarding there. We saw Barry Barrable in the Ryanair car getting a little touch of a door and a wing. The leaders make their way out into the country, led by the present champion. Brian Ward, after a sensational start, is leading John Keeney. Remember, John has got to finish well up if he wants to win the big class championship. But at the moment, Ward making inroads. And this here, Stephen Mealy leaving Kevin Rowland. And that's John Burns, a little spin, half spin there from O'Donoghue. And this is really slowing Gordon Kellett down. He wants to get up on terms. Remember, he is the man who has got to beat Keeney by more than one place. But meanwhile, back up front, it is still the cheeky little Astra of Michael Cullen, and Ward really hanging in there, pulling a gap out. But who is this? John Burns, who made a sensational start, like Ward, from the back row, moved up the inside, and he's actually moving up another place into 3rd. John leaving the door open there. Won't mind this man passing him, although he'd like to win the race. The danger man for John is Kellett. He's got to watch for him. But John Burns on a flyer at the moment. He has his sights set sincerely on that 1st place.
And how long can Cullen stay out ahead of these monsters? As the track dries, the power is more available now to the Cosworths. So we're back with John Keeney. We're in 4th place at the moment, and he can see how hard he's having to fight for grip.
Yes, and John Burns, as we said, just on a flyer, he'll be looking at Ward. A little puff of smoke there from Brian Ward's car. Ignore that. It's been puffing smoke all year, and he's won a number of races, but he really has to get by Michael Cullen, because John Burns will make one clean sweep and try and take the both of them. Cullen at the moment in this cheeky little Astra. I don't mean that in any way derogatory. It's cheeky compared to the monsters he has coming in his back window. And you can see Burns at the moment wants to get by Ward to have a go at the 2-litre Astra. The little car up front, that's the 2-litre class for next year, will be one of the main contenders. So we're looking at the battle of Burns again, looking at that inside, just putting the nose in, almost touching, but still Ward is closing in on the back of Michael Cullen. Burns lost out a little that time.
And he's making a really determined effort on the right side now, Brian Ward. Brian Ward absolutely ahead, but surely the Astra can outbrake him again down into Coca-Cola corner this time, and that's exactly what he does. But Ward, a man who's really starred in saloon car racing this year, now getting rather frustrated. He must get out front. He'll be very well aware that John Burns is a big threat right behind him, and they're queuing up behind it. Look at Kevin Rowlands there, Brian. That's an excellent drive by him.
Yes, Kevin coming up in the XP car, getting up, trying the outside, round the outside of John Keeney. Again, John doesn't want anybody else to pass him, but you can see Ward this time, will he get that slingshot? He's got to get right by the 100-yard mark, which I think he does, yes, and just sticks the bumper in. A great manoeuvre the last time from Michael Cullen as he was in on the wet line. John Burns following Ward through their side by side as they turn into the left-hander at Castle. John not quite far enough, just about to catch, yes, catching the right hand wing. You'll see it here. He's not quite far enough. The momentum of the Cosworth should carry him through. Michael in an understeer situation because of front wheel drive may have let it out a little bit, but a little nudge like that wouldn't worry John. But this is the battle now. Keeney back up at the second place because of that little unsettlement of John Burns. So it's Ward from Keeney. Will John leave the door open this time? Will John Burns have a look at it? Have a look at it. He does up that inside. John just bravely backing off, trying to tuck in behind him, with John getting superb acceleration out of the Dunlop corner here at Mondelo Park as they make their way down into the very tight Coca-Cola hairpin. 100-yard mark on the brakes. Remember, it's not completely dry, still a little slippy. Burns right over the curbs, rolling in another nice four-wheel slide. And Gordon Kellett, this is the danger man, Alan. If he can get up through these Sierras and get in front of John Keeney, his championship is gone.
He's had a very, very frustrating race so far. You can see how far back he is still after all these laps. But now the road is clear at least, and now he can really get the head down and get motoring in that roll plug car. Meanwhile, we're back with John Keeney in his Statoil Dunlop car, and he's just watching McLean. But oh dear, Kevin Rowland has blotted his copybook.
A spin coming into the S's there lets Gordon Kellett through and Michael Cullen, but Gordon Kellett will be hoping that John Burns keeps Brian Ward busy and that John Keeney is kept well behind this too. This will give him a chance because Burns at the moment putting Ward under a lot of pressure and holding John Keeney back. Meanwhile, that cheeky Astra still in drying conditions, still holding on to the 2-litre class, again turning in very, very early, John, there as they go through that left-hander out into the country. The puff of smoke again from Ward's car and a little nudge there from John Burns.
John Burns is running out of patience, and indeed there was a big moment there. Brian Ward was a little bit lucky to get away with that. It's getting pretty fraught here now. We're back on board with John Keeney, and it's all about these 3 Sierras, and it's absolutely ironic on their swan song. They're putting on the performance of their life. But look at Burns, he's all kinds of angles. He's determined to hit that front spot.
This will be upsetting John Keeney because in his mirror he'll see Gordon Kellett ever increasing, moving in on top of him. He would like to get by these two, but if they could just cool it a little bit and get the heads down and get a bit of pace, and all the time Gordon Kellett is delighted himself as they make their way down. The power of these cars getting in again to that 100-yard mark. Burns going for the inside, then changing direction. He's blocked the wheel. He's off. He's spun it out. He's going to hit the gravel trap. That was most unfortunate. Went in very late on the brakes. If we see it again, you'll see exactly what the problem was. He's in behind there, locks the wheel, decided to follow him, then out onto the outside. But John could have made a little more of that. But then when you have a spinning John Burns in front of you, which side do you go?
And meanwhile, while all this has been going on, there's been a tremendous battle amongst the Peugeots, at the moment being led by Barry Barrable. We just pick up some of the highlights as we glance over the laps. So Barry Barrable in the middle now of these two. It's in fact O'Donoghue who's hit the front, and Stephen Mealy is number 7 there in the third of the little 1.9 litre Peugeots.
Yes, Carl O'Donoghue, son of Frank O'Donoghue, just got new sponsorship from the Lipton ice drink that O'Connor, the tennis player, does. But you can see Mealy wants his eyes set on that place as well. So bumped back down there. Barry nearly, but got it all together coming out. So it's Carl O'Donoghue up front at the moment. Then followed in by a battle between Mealy and still Barry Barrable there in the Ryanair car. A little bit of damage there in Mealy's car. Not a man be afraid to stick the nose in, as they say. And these three beginning to bump it away. There's a fourth man in the background, O'Donoghue, who we saw spin out in front of Gordon Kelly, and he is going to get on the end of this train. But it's still, there we go, O'Donoghue from Barry Barrable, from Stephen Milley, and then in the background the white car of Sean O'Donoghue. Superb racing all year from these very evenly matched pairs. Mealy just tucked in there behind Barry. Look, O'Donoghue has arrived on the scene, just pushing into the door of the Liptonized car as they make their way up the hill. Now, they've already changed places. It's Barrable back in the lead in the Ryanair car. Two blue cars, one with the yellow, one with the white. And look at Mealy. He's decided it's his turn to lead this race.
And a classic example, because whilst the other three were scrapping, Sean O'Donoghue in the white car, he managed to really get up in terms of them, but he's got his nose severely blunted there in that particular manoeuvre.
Meanwhile, back front, it is still Brian Ward from the Flying John Keeney in the Statoil Dunlop car. John, does he have to pass this man? He would still like to win the race, but in the mirror, in the background, he can see Gordon Kellett arriving at a rate of knots now. The nice thing for John would be able to get Brian Ward between himself and Gordon Kellett. Back into the S's, tucked on the bumper, coming up on back markers. Who will get the advantage? Will it be John? Will it be Brian Ward? They won't get him before this tied hairpin at the Dunlop corner, so John will move out to the right for the quick line, get a slingshot onto the bumper of Ward and down the straight. So again, the back marker still there. We've actually just got inside the tail of Ward, just didn't get the acceleration. So John looking at the tail, the outside line is blocked by that back marker. Wrong decision, John. Just Ward can back off, ease his way through. Nothing there John can do, but all the time, remember, Gordon Kellett is gaining.
So out they go into the country now. The laps are peeling away and time is running out for John Keeney, but he is in a position that he will be likely now to take his class championship if he remains this way, but I'm sure he's thinking of the history of this occasion. He won the first ever race here at Mondelo. He'd probably very much like to win the last ever Sierra race. More back markers in the way, Brian. This is dangerous.
Yes, and this is the XP car there, again one of the Peugeots, sister car of Kevin Rowland's there, driven by John Farley. Slightly lost out there, John. Can he do anything about it as they crow through? That is the problem with the back marker. Back marker entitled to stay where he is. He's in his own race as they head down for the flag. This is the last corner. Can he do anything about it? I doubt it. Understeering Keeney follows the perfect Brian Ward through the corner and the flying Gordon Kellett. So it is Ward from Keeney who finishes ahead of Kellett, and that's what he wants to do. Brian Ward, John Keeney, Gordon Kellett. Michael Cullen in fourth, and Stephen Mealy wins the Battle of the Peugeots. And this is how the championship looks, and we still have drama. Drama there as Kevin Rowland in the big Sierra has lost his left-hand front wheel. This is on the last lap. Remember, the Peugeots are still racing, and O'Donoghue loses out there in a long spin through that left-hander. So the Peugeot battle is still going on to the very end, and the grounded XP car there on the right. So this is as it is. It's Mealy from Barry Barrable, from Carl O'Donoghue, and that's how the Peugeots finished.
And that's how the Dunlop Saloon Car Championship finished, with Michael Cullen once again at the top of the table, a historic occasion, and John Keeney winning the big class.